Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is doing really well today. And remember, tonight is the holiday of Lag BaOmer, and it's the day that the students of Rabbi Akiva stopped dying in a terrible plague. And we've been talking about Rabbi Akiva this week. Now, yesterday I told you that Rabbi Akiva went from being a completely unlettered individual who worked as a stable boy to becoming the greatest sage of the Talmud and the one who's mentioned almost 600 times in the Talmud. The entire oral Torah and the Mishnah and the Talmud is all based on his teachings. How did that happen? Because Rachel believed in him, and she said, if you go and learn Torah for a long time and become a scholar, I'll be betrothed to you. And he said, what are you talking about? I'm 40 years old. I've never learned. How am I supposed to go and become a Torah scholar at this point? And Rabbi Akiva left. And he went out. The story in the Talmud says that he went out into the yard and he was taking a walk. And he noticed something. He noticed a rock. And in that rock, there was a hole. And he was curious. And then he looked up and he saw that there was a little bit of water dripping off the side of the hill, one drop at a time. And he noticed a drop and then another drop. And he figured out that that rock had been there for so long that eventually over time that water had bored a hole into the rock. And he stopped and he said, if water, which is soft, can bore a hole into a rock, which is hard, then the Torah, which is like fire, can certainly penetrate my heart. And he took that message and he went and studied in yeshiva for 12 years straight. And then he came back and he went back for another 12 years and became the great Rabbi Akiva with 24,000 students. Now, there's a lot of amazing things about that story. We got to unpack that story. Maybe we'll unpack a little bit today and we'll unpack a little bit tomorrow. But the first thing that's so incredible about that story is that how many people do you think walked by that same rock over the years and didn't even notice anything unusual? The first thing about Rabbi Akiva, his greatness, is that he stopped. He saw the rock and he understood it to be a message to him. God is communicating with us all the time. The problem is we're just so busy and we have so much going on and we miss it. And we miss great messages and great things in our lives because we're overwhelmed. Rabbi Akiva saw that God was communicating with him. He saw there was a message to him. And he learned the message. And he understood the message. And he changed his life. And he became the great Rabbi Akiva. It reminds me of something that I read once. And some of you, I'm sure, have read this story. If not, you should Google it. It's really interesting. One of the greatest violin players of all times is Jonathan Bell. And the Washington Times did an experiment. In an early morning on one of the subway stations in Washington, D.C., Jonathan Bell went, dressed up in normal clothes. No one knew who he was. He was playing a violin that was worth $3.5 million. The night before, he had sold out an audience at $200 a ticket. And he was playing one of the greatest and most difficult Bach concertos. And he played for a long time. He played for 3 hours. And during that period of time, thousands of people rushed by him. And you know how many people stopped to listen to his music? The greatest violinist in America. Free concert in the subway? 7 over a period of 3 hours. They didn't even notice him. Most of them just walked by and didn't even see him. That's what's going on in our lives. We're walking by the most precious things, the most beautiful music, and we don't even hear it. Rabbi Akiva heard it. He saw the rock, he saw the message, and he understood what the message was, and he changed his life because of it. We're going to unpack that story a little bit more tomorrow. There's a lot there. Have a great day, everybody.